I have been contested in over 150 documented forms in written history. There is no nation on this planet throughout all time that has not experienced me. I am wrestling accountability, responsibility, persistence, and resolve. Wrestling is not the only place they could acquire these, but by God, they all reside here. And if you live with me long enough, these will become you. I am wrestling. Celebrate what I am, celebrate what I have been, celebrate what I represent, and celebrate the many ways I have impacted your life. I am forever etched into the very fiber of all mankind. The world needs me. History guarantees me. I am wrestling. Do not weep for me.
What is up, everybody? This is Ben Askren, and this is the first ever episode of the T-Row and Funky Show, which is brought to you by Defense Soap. Defend what you own. And Tommy, what is up, man? I'm excited. We've been talking about this for about, 3 months now, about getting this started. So wrestling season's getting going, and we're getting going. What's going on with you?
Oh, nothing much, man. I'm pretty pumped up about this show as well. We've been talking about it. It's been in the work for months now, but honestly, what I really want to talk about, since I think you're a little jet lagged from your travels, give us the update, man. I know everybody's curious once they hear that Ben Askren's on a podcast. What the heck happened a few days ago out east?
Yeah. It was shenanigans. Actually, I posted a video on my Facebook page. It was like 6 or 7 minutes. That kind of I recapped everything, and I don't want to spend all of our time talking about it, but. This show is it's mainly going to be for wrestling people, and wow, I mean, MMA is a little different world. This guy Santos came in about 5 pounds overweight, and then he got down to maybe 2.5 pounds overweight before he quit, and which is unheard of in wrestling. In wrestling, if someone misses weight, it's by like 0.2 pounds. I try to explain that to my MMA friends, and they don't get it. It doesn't register with them. So then, so I said, okay, fine. It can't be a title fight because you didn't make weight. I said, we'll fight tomorrow, but we're going to do a second weigh-in of 190. So that's 20 pounds over, right?
It just blows my mind that he didn't take this. I mean, that is a very, very gracious offer, if you ask me.
And he refused to try. I mean, it was freaking mind-blowing. So yeah, you can see the rest of that on my Facebook page, or just type in my name, you'll find it. No big deal. Yeah, so the other big news of the MMA weekend, which we don't want to spend this whole time talking about, but it's definitely relevant. It's definitely a cousin to wrestling. Is Ronda Rousey got her butt kicked. Did you check that out, Tommy?
I was not able to watch it. I was busy enjoying Illinois and Ohio State football, but I did get to read about it and follow the results. And man, yeah. I saw that it was like, I think the odds were like 26 or 27 to 1 to bet on home. Would have been like to be on the right side of that bet in Vegas.
Yeah, did you see that one guy cashed out? I don't know if you saw. He cashed out his ticket. He bet $20,000 on home, and I believe he cashed out for $240,000 or something.
And this is the same guy that won a couple million on betting that the Royals would win the World Series.
He won millions on the Royals. He won on Holly Holmes. The guy's making a living as a freaking gambler. That's outstanding. Is Ohio State still undefeated?
Football?
Yeah, football.
Come on, Ben. Of course.
Okay.
This is Buckeye football we're talking about.
Okay.
So,
well,
yes, we're undefeated. We really haven't hit our stride, at least in my opinion. So, are we playing like the best team in the country? Probably not, but we are in the top 4. I think we will be in the top 4, and then the chips will fall where they may at the end of the year. So,
fair enough.
That's pretty popular out here in Buckeye land this time of year. So,
nice. Okay, well, let's get into this show. So, for those of you guys who are listening for the first time, which is everybody, because this is our first show, what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about wrestling, but we're not going to get in the nitty gritty of the results or the rankings. We are going to talk about how wrestling needs to monetize itself and move into the modern economy to stay relevant. I think that's something we both feel passionate about. And We actually have a great thing that happened last weekend that kind of feeds right into this show, which was the Iowa-Oklahoma State duel. It was I got to watch it. I was still in Singapore. I was staying up all night to get on my flight the next morning home, and wow, it was outstanding. Did you? I know. You said you didn't watch it live, but did you catch any highlights or clips?
I caught bits and pieces of it, Ben, and obviously followed the results religiously. Saw the photos, saw some of the Vine videos, and just seemed like an unbelievable spectacle for our sport. I think 42,000 and some change were the people that attended the event. Really has to be one of the better events that our sport has ever put on. And as a guy, you watch the whole thing, so you can probably provide more commentary than I can. But really seems like something that I would imagine that Cale is going to try to replicate this next November in State College, and then so on and so forth, and it'll become an arms race for better attended matches and what have you. But I think overall, thinking outside the box like that for our sport is good externally as well as internally, just to keep things moving and get people, obviously continuing to try to improve their product, so to speak. So
yeah, and it was freaking awesome. And yeah, I got to assume some other teams are doing the same thing. I was very curious about the logistics of the situation. Like, what if it's really freaking cold? What if it's snowing? Are they going to put a roof, some kind of tent over it? Are they going to have heaters? What are they going to do? And because wrestling, it doesn't really live in hot climates too much. Oklahoma State might be able to do this fairly easily, maybe in Arizona State, but a lot of these Midwestern teams, they're gonna have to sneak it in here in just right in the beginning of November to actually make it work.
You reminded me. I bet you Zeke Jones has some plans for next November. He's a goofy thinking guy that way. I can't imagine him not doing something like that, being in Arizona.
Yeah, and I know a few of the California schools have done something. They've done outside matches. I don't believe they've been in the football stadium. They've been in smaller arenas, but they have done the outdoor matches. But obviously, Iowa's first one to do big. Well, actually, they're not the first, Tommy. If we go way back, way back, George Hackenschmidt versus Frank Gotch. What was that like? I don't know, 1908, 1950, something, 100 years ago. I think they did 40,000 in Comiskey Park for the World Championship. I'm not even joking, dude.
And then if we want to really get historic, I believe Doug Blueball won the Olympics in the Roman Colosseum in Italy outdoors. Probably wasn't 40,000 people there, but it has been done outdoors before, I guess, is the point you're trying to make.
Yeah.
And so I guess Tom Brands and John Smith, they're not as original as they think.
Not quite. I love it, though. You know what? And you know what I was thinking the whole time? Because, Tommy, I'm known for giving the Iowa fans a hard time. And
not you. Not Askren.
Part of it's I mean it, but part of it is just because it's funny because, you say something, get so mad at it, and I just, I giggle about it like a schoolgirl as I'm looking at my Twitter feed. But you know what? It really reminded me of was have you ever seen the Hot Crazy Matrix on YouTube?
No, I have not.
Oh my god. Okay. You absolutely have to watch this video. I'm gonna
look this up on my phone during our recording.
Okay. The Hot Crazy Matrix. So it's, I don't know, it's probably a 10-minute video, but this guy talks about how women, there's a hot on one axis and there's crazy on the other axis, and he talks about all the different intersections of, who to avoid, who to date, who to marry, and all this stuff, right?
Right.
And look at one of the things he says is that the hottest ones are the craziest ones frequently. And, that's kind of how I feel about Iowa fans. They are the greatest fans. They are the best. They're like the hottest girl, right, in school, but man, they are crazy.
I remember this. So the video's on a whiteboard, right?
Yeah.
And the guys drive. He's drawing like that axis thing, like you're learning about supply and demand in economics class or something like that.
Exactly. But these
hot
are the
crazy
Iowa fans.
So Iowa fans are really hot, is what you're saying. And
they're hot, but they are crazy. I remember. You know what? The one match that comes to my mind above all other matches, and the point I was going to make is this weekend the fans definitely got Iowa some calls for stalling, and and then when Iowa was stalling, the ref wasn't calling it quite as frequently, like at, say, at 165 when Derringer was going after that dude.
That doesn't happen in Iowa City. Everything is officiated very fairly, Ben.
The refs they're human. They make mistakes. But the one I always laugh about, when I was dying, it was me and my brother, a couple of Missouri guys, and we were watching the Nationals in 2013 in Oklahoma City, and it was Ian Miller from Kent State versus Derek St. John, and Ian Miller was on fire, and I want to say he took Derek St. John down 6 or 7 times. I mean, it was just one after the other, after the other, after the other. And in the third period, he's up by 6 or 7. He's up by a whole bunch, and he takes a couple steps backwards, and the whole Iowa section starts going stalling, and I'm thinking like, what in the hell is wrong with these people? Like,
so they were on the side of the crazy matrix during that reaction.
Like, just something like it was like the Twilight Zone, Tommy. Like I'm looking at my brother and my friends like, did they not just see Ian Miller take him down freaking 7 times? Like, what in the world? What are they yelling stalling about?
Yeah,
like, because he took
you gotta love it though. It's actually the hot crazy thing is a perfect analogy because you gotta love how dedicated they are to their wrestlers in a way.
You gotta love it, but it's also like, ooh, it's tough. It's a tough man to deal with because. Like I said, they're great, and sometimes I'm like they pulled this event off. The fans made it. I mean, they were into the matches. The whole,
what's funny, Ben, is
from 25 to heavyweight.
In our bullet points for this show, we wanted to at some point talk about our earliest recollections of each other, and this is not my earliest recollection of you. We can get to that at some point, but one thing I do remember is you were wrestling. I believe he was a Loft House. I forget his first name.
No, it was Eric Ludke.
Ludke. It starts with an L.
Yep.
I think it was like the second or third round of the NCAA tournament. And you were ahead by a good margin. I forget how much. And you basically stood straight up and did the Dan Gable, put your hand in the air and make the rock sign in the middle of the match, 3 or 4 times for stalling calls, which was, the Iowa fans didn't like that too much. They were on the crazy side of the hot crazy metrics again in that one, But I think you were on the crazy side too. Honestly,
a
little bit, a little wild.
I was frustrated. He was backing up and backing up and backing.
How bad did you win that match? Was it
only 8-3? 8-3.
So you were getting frustrated.
Actually, yeah. You know what, Tommy? In my one rant I went on last year on Facebook where when Missouri beat Iowa in the duels finals, and then the Iowa fans were going crazy, and I went off on Facebook on a video. I was freaking out. That dude was running away from me. I still took him down 4 times because I knew I went 8-3. I just figured 4 takedowns, and Eric Ludke, the guy I beat, actually posted in the comments, "No, you didn't. It was 2 takedowns, an escape, a ride time point, and 2 stalling points."
There you go.
And I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe that he just posted in the comments section. I cannot believe that.
We can't keep talking about Iowa this whole time, or at least in a negative kind. That was fairly positive.
Negative. Yeah, it's positive.
Yeah,
hot crazy. There's positives and there's negatives. That's the way it is. That's the Iowa fans, hot and crazy.
So let's touch on the meat and potatoes of this dual meet, and then maybe some other subjects. But really, there were no major upsets.
None.
Other than
no, I don't think there was any, but there was
almost one at 157. I read plenty about.
But I don't. Marsteller, obviously, he was a high school sensation, but he did lose in his first Open tournament this year. So yeah, I was gonna say I don't think any major upsets, but there was definitely drama. There was drama, which man, that made for a show. Obviously, that match had a lot of drama. I don't know if you saw this whole match, but Marsteller, man, I don't know if he could stand up. Like, he could barely stand up in the third.
So do
period.
you think he's a 65-pounder that's got to go
be.
down because ring Derringer is at 65?
Yeah, gotta be. But now it's John Smith's got a tough situation because Marsteller just looks like he's not going to get it done. So he can bump up and back up Derringer, or some people are suggesting that he could even go to 74 and beat Crutchmer.
And then if Crutchmer goes to 84, I don't even know if he's big enough to do that. Does Okie State have somebody at 84 that they would be kicking out of the lineup, or would that might be the ideal lineup for Okie State?
Yeah, that might be ideal for them to win. Because that guy, that 84, I don't even know his name, but he got whooped. I mean, he just got beat down.
By Brooks, right?
It was
Brooks,
ugly.
no.
Yeah.
There's a real good photo that I don't know who the guy is, but it was of Brooks after he won. One of my favorite photos from the event. But anyways, he smashed the Okie State guy.
Yeah, smashed him. So and then obviously 57, Okie State's got Joe Smith, which is John's son. That. He won that open tournament where it was Blease and Marsteller, and he's looking really good, really, really good. So they could potentially throw him in there and then bump, and that might even end up in more points for him because Marsteller at 57, he ain't scoring points to the national tournament. There's just no way of that. This is not going to happen.
It's not pretty when you're sucking that much weight in November. I mean, I guess you could take the train of thought where it's going to get better because it's only his first couple times down, but at the same time, it's a long season.
Mm-hmm.
You got a kid who's a redshirt freshman. I know he's been around and seen a lot of things, but that college grind, it's a tough thing to get used to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not going to get that much easier. I mean, maybe a little bit, but he looked terrible. I mean, so bad. He somehow won. Which means the other guy's terrible too. I mean, he's a bum. The other match that was awesome, which my internet cut out in the middle of it, but I was able to catch me in, was 74 Crutchmer versus Meyer. Crutchmer had a big throw right off the bat and was up 6-0. Meyer came back and they went back and forth, and Crutchmer pulled it. I believe it was 12-11, 11-10, but that was another just freaking awesome match, and the fans were going nuts. It was a great environment. It was just made for some great spectating.
I'll tell you what match I thought, and I since we're gonna have this podcast, Ben, I follow wrestling religiously, but I got to watch these matches that we plan on talking about. So I do apologize for that. But just from a guy who is a consumer of all wrestling media on a daily basis, being an Ohio guy, I was expecting Kalika and Sorensen to be a little bit more competitive. It appears that even though it was only like 6-2 or whatever, that Sorensen was mostly in control. Do you have any commentary on that match? Or
yeah, that's another guy that's that's sucking weight where a lot of people thought he was 57 last year, and obviously Kinnick was 49, and he did well in freestyle. They thought he was going to be he was going to come in and do some things, but I know Sorensen's tough, but he just he didn't look like he was bringing much to the table there, and that's going to be a tough weight. That weight's deep at nationals, so I think that'd be a little bit of a stretch for him at this point. For me, it's a stretch for Collicut All-American. So, and then the other big match. Yeah, man, I thought we weren't going to talk so many current events, but I freaking love wrestling. So, so whatever, let's go. The other big match that happened yesterday, which did have some upsets, unlike Iowa versus Oklahoma State, was Virginia Tech and Penn State. And
you had Megaludis getting knocked off by Joe Dance.
Gilbon.
And then you had Nolf, Gilbon. Who did Gilbon lost to Chisco? Is that his name? Chisco?
Something like that, Chisco.
And then you had Nolf whipped on, who did Nolf beat? Oh, he beat Brisketta, an Ohio kid. Was like 6'2", something like that.
Yeah, beat him pretty solid.
And then you had Bo Nickel. Is it Nickel or Nickel?
Nickel, I think.
Bo Nickel. He took out, was it Epperly?
Yeah. So, I mean, that was upsets all over the board.
And it was still a competitive duel meet. I mean, it was one match. It was 6-4, right? 6 matches to 4.
Yeah, I believe so. So,
Virginia Tech's got a tough squad.
They're really good, right? That's I mean, Penn State. Obviously, I think Penn State, Oklahoma State are the two favorites this year, which is that's why I think John's got to bring out Joe, and he's got to bring out Cade Brock at 33. They got to put the best team. They got to put the best team they can in, because it's not every year you got a chance at winning, and once you get Derringer on the lineup out of the some of those sure points, it's going to make it a lot tougher to win it. So
I can't believe you didn't bring up the defending champs. I mean, they're pretty solid. Come on now, man.
Well, let's go get that. That's your homeboys. So
yeah, I think the Buckeyes are. I think they're on the short list. I think there's maybe 4 teams that can win it, and the Buckeyes are one of them. I mean, I would agree that Oklahoma State and Penn State, they got some squads this year, but you got Iowa in there, and I think the Buckeyes, they might end up wrestling some guys. I don't know if it's on the table or not, but I know Miles Martin is looking great in the room. Mm-hmm. He had a tough loss this past weekend. He lost 4-3 to Central Michigan kid that's ranked in the top 10. Yeah, and I didn't get to see the match, but I'm just picturing a true freshman. He's 10-1 on the year, and he's got his only loss is just a last-second takedown to a top 10 guy. I think with that type of talent, you got to be tempted to throw him in there and put Jordan at 65.
Definitely. And I don't know about you, Tommy, but when I was a true freshman, I lost to some freaking bums. I had 10 losses.
Yeah, man. I had some really bad losses and some really good wins my redshirt year, and it pieced all together. The next year as it did for you, but it is a unique experience. Most freshmen show up, and I was no different. I was a blue chip recruit, but I showed up on campus, and I'm losing to guys that walked onto the team and have only been there for a year and stuff like that. And then you just have to do a lot of soul searching. You got to kind of firm up your stance, your positions, your bottom wrestling. There's a lot of things you got to figure out in a shorter period of time. I don't know what it would have been like my true freshman year. I mean, it would have been a roller coaster. I know that much.
Mm-hmm. But I think obviously losing Steve, that's like a freaking dagger, and then Snyder going the same year. But man, what the issue with Ohio State right now, which makes me not want to bet on them, is they got so many guys who are up and down. And I know you're not going to put them down because that's your homeboys, but man, DeJulius is up and down, great wins. Courts is so up and down. Mark Martin's up and down. Tevenella's up and down.
I think I'm not putting them down by saying that I agree with you, and I think that if you if that program when they ever do soul searching and speak to one another in team meetings and things, there's guys on that team that know I've got to do my job for us to have a shot, and the guys you mentioned, they know that they're counted on to instead of doing round of 12, they got to get 5th or they got to get 3rd or they got to win it or whatever it might be. Because there's that, and it's just like any other team, Ben. There's that core group of 3 or 4 guys where you're like, these 2 guys are in the finals. This guy's guaranteed top 4. This guy that. And then you win the national title with the difference of the people that you're not talking about, the guys that can go from round of 12 or 2-2 at the nationals to 3rd or 4th, and that's what wins the title. Yeah. So and that's what won it for them last year, and if they do win this year, that's what will win it for them again this year, and probably more so than last year because they need more guys to step up. But the talent's there, and I think, like I said, I think they're one of the few teams that can actually win the national title this year. So
definitely. So yeah, I think you got. Iowa kind of, Ohio State kind of, Virginia Tech. I doubt it, but you never know. And then I think you got Penn State and Oklahoma State on top of that, and that's really who you're looking at. Maybe Michigan. I just don't think they got the big guns to put the points together to win it. But
we call that the state up north.
The state up north.
Yeah, I don't say that word.
Okay.
The M word.
The M word. Nice.
It's football, man.
Wait, are they going to beat you guys in football this year? No, they're not very good, right?
They're pretty good, It's November 28th. It's at the state up north, so we'll see. It's a rivalry game, so we'll see.
It's a big one. All right, so I think we hit the current event. That was I really wasn't expecting to talk about that.
Probably a little bit more than I thought, huh?
You never know. We might just get on here and just start talking about wrestling sometimes. We are for those of you guys listening, we are going to have guests. We actually have a big one next week. We got Tom Ryan. I think we got Noel Thompson the week after that, and then we got Mr. Daniel Cormier again promised to come on. So we got some good guests. It's not just going to be me and Tommy chatting up, but sometimes I think we just got to hop on here and talk about wrestling because I live with my wife, and now I have 2 daughters, and I got a female dog. So it's nice to have a male to talk to, just talk about wrestling. That's it.
Exactly right. I'm in the business world now. I sell produce for a living, but wrestling's in my soul. So I mean, this is therapeutic to get on here, once a week and have a conversation with you. So to your point, though, we will have guests. We will have some structure in our podcast. It'll take shape, I think, as we continue to do this, but we're really just going to BS about wrestling and all the things that come with it and everything in between, and hopefully the wrestling community takes hold and they like it.
Nice. All right, so let's get into it. Here's what we want to talk about. And you and I have already had some very passionate discussions about this topic on the phone, so I'm sure this is going to be nothing new. And, I don't think we're going to argue because we have the same viewpoint for the most part. But
we are going to argue every now and again, Ben. We're going to have topics where it's just like you and I are just going to have at it. I can see that coming.
Eventually. So we're going to talk about, and it's going to come down to the need for a professional wrestling league in America. But just, kind of the need to promote our sport. And that was one of the things I thought Iowa did so great. They and frankly, they've always done great. All the way back from Gary Kurtelmeyer, who was before Dan Gable, is promote their sport, because when you look at today's sports, and this is scary about, we're talking about NCAA and the Olympics, is, man, it's all about that money. And when Iowa is putting 42,000 seats in, butts in the seats, and I want to say they did $15 to $20 a ticket, man, that's their freaking budget for the year. I mean, that's a $700,000-$800,000 dual meet. That's more revenue than some of these college programs are bringing in a decade. And I think
you got that right.
Damn straight. And when you got, I think, some of these coaches that people are being called for firing due to negligence, say in Michigan State or in Indiana, not only are they not producing good wrestling programs, but they're failing to promote their program. I mean, their average attendance is like 300 people. It's just freaking embarrassing and appalling. Right now in 2015, one of the most important things for a Division I college coach to do is promote his program and get butts in the seats.
No doubt about it. I mean, it's hard to kind of have it's left brain, right brain in a sense as a coach, because you just want to focus on developing the student athlete, developing the people that are in your starting lineup, making sure that they're ready to go at the end of the year, and it's really a singular focus, almost like your training. And then by the same token, I think that you have a duty or an obligation for the school you work for and for the wrestling community, and just for making everything, kosher, so to speak, to promote the sport, be out there in the community, connect the dots with people that can help you make your program more relevant inside the community, and to your point, put butts in the seats. And so it is tough. I think it's left brain, right brain. It's kind of counterintuitive to, just taking one guy and getting him to be a state champ, or taking, 3 guys and getting them to be All-Americans. And it's just like, hey, it's just me and you, and we're against the world here. And, that mentality doesn't necessarily blend in with, hey, let's be inclusive. Let's get up on a platform and talk to a lot of people and get them to be excited about our program. So you don't see many people that are good at both at the same time.
Yeah, and that's one thing that wrestling people have never done. They've never sold. And I talked to my brother and I. Obviously, we own wrestling academies, and so we have to sell. If people don't show up to our academy, the business goes under. We can't coach anybody, right? So
right.
We talk about all the time. You got to sell. You have to sell, and that's something wrestling people were never ever forced to do, because they got the security. And really, wrestling, if you look at it, it's reliant on government subsidies and charity at all levels. Whether it's the NCAA and the programs are funded. And a lot of the programs aren't making money. I don't know of any. Maybe now Iowa, that they're putting 42,000 butts in the seat for one dual meet.
Well, if you think about it, you add it up, and I don't mean to get off topic because I know you're on a little bit of a rant, but all you have to do is take the salaries, the scholarships, the operating budget, the cost to run the facilities, and some ancillary costs. And you've got what it takes to run a wrestling program at the collegiate level. So I think that could cost anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million, depending on the program. what you're paying the coaches. So you got to get better than $1 million gate, because when you do a gate of $1 million for the year, you still have costs associated with running those events. Mm-hmm. So I would say that Iowa wrestling, my opinion, is maybe a break-even team, maybe.
Yeah, and they're doing a better job than anyone. I mean, obviously, Penn State's selling out every match now. They're doing a great job, and a few other programs are. I know Minnesota does a great job also. But back to what I was saying is that wrestling coaches have never felt that urge to have to sell, because wrestling subsidized, whether it's a high school program, which they don't have to raise money to run it. It's not a business. A college program, same thing. They're getting money from their university because the football and the basketball program are making all the money, or the Olympic level, and even the club teams in America, whether it's the Sunkist Kids or Titan Mercury, those are funded by very wealthy individuals who, it's essentially a charity for them. And Absolutely. So wrestling has never had to think of itself. It's not like MMA, right? MMA doesn't exist if it's not a business. MMA in all forms exists as a business. And hell, I know I learned this the hard way, Tommy. My first 2 fights, I actually put on the show with another guy, and we lost $15,000 in the first 2 shows, and
that's a bad beat, Ben. That's a bad beat. It's a bad day at the blackjack table.
That is bad. So I had to split that loss, and that's where you learn you got to sell. You got to sell. We had to sell more
Absolutely.
tickets, and we did a decent job. But that's wrestling's never felt that urge, and I think we got to start to feel it, because I think, in my opinion, the Olympic Committee, what happened a couple of years ago, that's really scary. I think if wrestling was dropped in the Olympics, that's going to hurt it at all levels in America. And then don't even get me started about colleges. Hell, look what happened in freaking Missouri last week.
Yeah.
College campuses are crazy with the student debt bubble that's coming, and prices going for college. And then obviously there's been some very, very, if you're into the sports world, there's been some very, very interesting lawsuits against the NCAA the last couple of years that are going to kind of, really in my mind have the potential to change the landscape of how the entire NCAA functions. So wrestling coaches can't feel good. Right now, I feel like unless they're going to break even or make money for the program, they can't feel that safe.
No, it's tough too, to not be able to monetize your profession. So if you want to get a raise, or you want to make more money for yourself, or you want to add a coach because you don't have the maximum allowable coaches, or you want one of your assistants to get a raise, or you need more money in your budget, you want to connect it to the results that you have, but it's easier if there's dollars and cents to it, and there's not, because it's hard to sit with your boss and say, I deserve more, I should have more, I need $20,000 more in my travel budget, when every year your sport contributes nothing. In fact, it loses money for the university that you work for. So it's a tough thing. It's not overly empowering to be in a sport where that is the case more oftentimes than not. So to the point I think we're getting to, the punchline is that, and it's not an easy thing, right? You and I are going to talk about it, maybe talk about some possible solutions or ideas that we would have, but it's really difficult to take a non-revenue sports culture that relies on government subsidies and charities at all levels and turn it into a business. And that's a lot easier said than done, but we should strive to do those types of things. I think that's only beneficial for the future wrestlers. I got 3 boys, and my oldest is 5 years old, so maybe in 12, 13 years, the landscape is different when they're going into college or what have you. And I will say, I was an Olympic hopeful starting in 2004 when I graduated, which kind of dates me. And, that was only 12 years ago. And the money that these guys are making that are training for the Olympics is significantly better than what myself and others got coming out of college just 12 years ago. So I do think it's better, Ben, but that doesn't mean we're where we need to be. And that doesn't mean that we can't or shouldn't try to professionalize and monetize and market our sport in a way that's similar to the sport you compete in right now, which is mixed martial arts, which went from nothing to something over a 15-year period. So.
Yeah. And you know what? You know what book I just started reading this morning that you bring that up is funny is this book written by Art Davie, who was the founder of the UFC. He was the guy who started it way back in 1993. So, man, it's really interesting because he, you know, right now in the book, really early, but, you know, he's at that grassroots level. Like I said, you know, he's not treating it as a government subsidy where he's going to be able to do his show no matter what. He has to make money or he doesn't do another show, right?
Right.
And that's where wrestling people. So, you know, first we need to acknowledge our problem, which I think a lot of these guys, a lot of people in wrestling wouldn't even acknowledge the fact that our events don't make money as an issue. They don't really see that as an issue. Why are our programs being cut? Title IX, F Title IX. You know, this is crap. This is unjust. Blah blah blah. Well, guys, I will tell you straight up. If your college program is making a couple $100,000, your university is not going to cut you. It's not going to happen.
No.
Not going to happen.
It won't happen. There's no way. If you're profitable, the sports that aren't profitable are going to go first. Let's just say that.
Definitely, and frankly, unfortunately, man, that's what we've seen. You know, we as wrestling have lost a lot of programs over the last 50 years, or what's it been, 40 years? 40,
yeah,
40 something.
I want to say in the early 80s, someone told me, and I've been sticking to this for many years, so I hope I'm right, but I want to say in the early 80s we had approximately 300 Division I wrestling programs.
Damn.
And now
really?
we're not. Yeah. You know,
wow.
we need to get a fact checker guy like Mike and Mike have or something like that to run the numbers for us. But I want to say that in the late 70s, early 80s, it was around 300.
Wow.
D1 programs. Now we're at 80 something. So, you know, it's not a big deal until it is. So, you know, I get into conversations with a lot of my personal friends, and it's kind of like, you know, what's the big deal? You know, everyone's hashtagging grow wrestling and things like that. And some people just say it to say it, and they don't really know what they're saying or mean what they're saying, but
or understand what they're saying.
Or understand it, and they just it's kind of almost pop culture-ish in wrestling to say grow wrestling. But truthfully, I think we should always be trying to grow. I mean, I'm in the business world in a number of ways, and the old adage, if you're not growing, you're dying, gets said all the time, and that's the truth.
100%.
If you're not growing, you're dying. So, you know, we should probably get into some concepts that you and I agree with or think that would help, you know, the promotion of the sport. But, you know, I think we need to continually think this way as a sport, the leaders in our sport. And I know that they do already, but there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I think that's what we wanted to talk about today.
Definitely, that's what we want to speak. So, I mean, I guess you know, what we talk about is that our the biggest example of this, most shining example of this is a professional league, right? Right. And a lot of other sports in America have these, and a professional league does not exist unless it makes money. If it is losing money, no one is going to help them. They just won't be around the next year. And wrestling now has tried a number of times, and there's been zero successful wrestling promotions ever to stick around, and that's unfortunate. And actually, you know, I've been a part of two of these very recently, two of the movements to get a professional wrestling started, and it's been challenging, and we got a lot of issues, you know, that we got to clear out of the way. And I'm definitely not giving up. Obviously, I was part of Aegon and then FPL, and FPL, maybe, you know, I don't know. We aren't dead, but we're definitely not. We ain't going anywhere right now.
That's Flow Premier League for those who don't know what you're saying, right? That's the acronym.
Yeah, Flow Premier League. So, and just you know, like we're talking about, Tommy, is you're not around unless you make money. And so between those two promotions, I believe we did around 10 shows over 2 years, and not one of them made money.
Did they come close, Ben? Like what were?
Yeah.
Were costs? Let's just talk business wise. Were costs not controlled as good as they could have been? Was there too much prize money given out, or was it just not enough people tuning in and paying?
You know, both. I would say a little bit of both. And we did come close. Actually, both times the events were in Wisconsin. Max and I worked our butts off. We sold, and you know, we got the gyms packed, and we got fairly close. We got almost to where we were breaking even. But the show still...
Break even is successful in your first year in business. Break even is a massive success.
Yeah, well, that was unfortunately that was only one show. So the rest of them, especially like Aegon 1, where these guys came out and offered crazy money. They offered me, and I'll tell you straight up, this is where I couldn't believe Dick turned it down. They offered me $10,000 to show up and $10,000 to win against Kyle Dick, and I said, guys, right. if you pay me $3,000, I'll show up.
Yeah, you would take anybody on for a stick of gum, Ben.
I did it I wrestled Jake Herbert for free, at Midlands, 2012 or 2011 or somewhere back then.
Back in the ages.
Yeah, so they offered me 10 and 10. I said, I'll do it for 3. But and then Kyle Dake turned $20,000 down, which is because I'm definitely giving him the advantage over me at that point in my career, for sure. I was not wrestling, so which was just freaking blew me away.
Do you think that was too much to offer? If you're really trying to be a sustainable business, do you think that perhaps, even though you guys are worth that amount, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I think wrestling is the greatest sport in the world. So,
but we're not worth that. We're not worth that amount.
You're worth what people will pay to watch.
We're worth what people will pay to watch, and that's what wrestling people don't understand. So after Aegon 1, where I was the wrestler, I said, guys, this is something I freaking love. I've been thinking about doing a professional wrestling league since 2006, and I said, I want to be a part of this. And so, and actually, you know what, Tommy, and I kind of cheated because those Wisconsin shows, one of the other reasons that they came close to breaking even was because I wrestled free on both of those because, I wanted the business to succeed. So,
so even the balance sheet was not necessarily representative of how you could. Yeah, you could replicate that event all over the country.
Yeah, exactly. So, so Aegon, went awry after 4 shows, and I jumped. I kind of sold flow on doing the gig the second season, and I think the biggest issue for me was the athletes, getting the athletes on board. And the unfortunate thing about wrestling is, and I talk to Chael Sonnen about this all the time because he's a big pro wrestling guy. Right, and so I was trying to get his advice on some ideas.
Real wrestling is what you're talking about, right?
I'm talking about the stuff where they put on the long tight pants and run around the ring and talk a lot of trash.
Gotcha.
That stuff that's and the example I always bring up about business, Tommy, is real wrestling, real pro wrestling, what we do, and pro wrestling, which is scripted and is on TV. They were the same 50 years ago. Well, one guy I actually want to get on our show at some point is Gerald Brisco. Do you know who Gerald Brisco is?
No, but something tells me he's an older professional wrestler.
Yeah, did he ever try to recruit you?
No, where did he coach at?
Oh, no. Gerald Brisco is the main recruiter for the WWE, and he visits the Nationals every year, and he looks mostly for heavyweights, obviously. And I know he got a few guys. I know Levi Cooper, who I coached at Arizona State. He's in one of the developmental leagues.
Nick Nemeth, who wrestled at St. Edge and then wrestled at Kent State. What's his
Dolph
stage name?
Ziggler, I believe.
Yeah, he's like a bazillionaire right now.
And then there's who's it? Jack
the
Swagger.
Greco guy. The Greco guy. Chaz. Is it Chaz Betts?
Chaz Betts. He's Chad Gable. So the main guy going to get these guys is Jerry Brisco. But anyways, he wrestled at Oklahoma State way back in the '60s, and then went to do the pro wrestling. But if you go far enough back, pro wrestling, like we said, Gotch and Hackenschmidt, like we mentioned before, they're the same. They're the same exact thing. And at some point, to my understanding of the situation, and maybe Jerry would fill us in on this, is they started wrestling the matches backstage, real legitimate matches backstage to see who would win, and then when they would go out, they would just fake it.
I love it.
But they had already picked the winner, and then obviously it gets more and more and more scripted as you go farther forward and more dramatic. But WWE, that's on TV every week. Those guys make millions of dollars to do what they do, and while us in the real wrestling community scoff at them and think it's embarrassing, man, those guys are living very well. They're famous. And not that that's everything in life, but it probably sure does feel good to put a good living and a good amount of money in your bank account and taking care of your family and giving to the charities you want to give to. That's got to feel good, right?
Yeah, and I think just from the very foundational sense, it'd be nice to just have a league or a promotion, maybe not a league, but a promotion that promotes events with our professional athletes, the Jordan Burroughs of the world, that just is there all the time. They're always throwing content in your face on a weekly or monthly basis year round, to where we have something where we can give that steady drip of what we think is the greatest sport in the world, or one of the greatest sports in the world, to where people can learn about it. Because right now when it gets on television, nobody knows what's going on. They don't completely understand the rules. And then by the time they have it half figured out, the show's gone, or the event they're watching is gone, and you don't see it for a year. So nobody ever catches on.
Oh, wait. Hey, Tommy, I forgot the point I was going to make earlier.
Okay.
When I brought up Chael, and then I got talking about Brisco and pro wrestling. The point I was going to make, that it was one of the biggest issues with wrestling, is that Chael said, right, you get a guy, you make him the champ, you call him the baddest son of a bitch in the world, and then he's the champ, right? And with wrestling, there's a U.S. Nationals and World Championships every year, so everyone knows who the real best is. So we can't get like the ninth best guy and just say he's the best guy in the world, deal with it, right?
Right.
I mean, or ninth best guy in America, call him the best guy in the world. So
No,
that
it's-
makes it challenging. And so the best guy is every best guy in America. And really, there's only a handful of stars in America right now. But they all put this value on themselves, and that they think they're worth. But I would argue that they're not worth it because of the ticket sales and pay-per-views that people are buying. So they put this value on themselves. So then you have to get not the number ones, but everyone knows they're not the best, and everyone wants to watch the best people. But the best people they're pricing themselves out of the market.
You've got to be what the market is. It's no different than when these same guys do a clinic. When they host a clinic and somebody pays them, usually the clinic is producing a profit or at least breaking even, and that's why they're able to pay them that amount.
Yeah, exactly. So that was my biggest issue with the FPL. Is I tried to get a lot of the best guys, and it was challenging. And because I couldn't land the biggest matchups, because part of Martin and I's goal was to, or what I told him and what he said, yeah, go with that plan, is to try to keep the budgets down as much as possible. Because Aegon paid these guys crazy money, right?
Right.
And then Wayne Boyd's done a few of these shows where he's paid guys crazy money, but obviously you don't see him throwing the shows every month. And if he was making money on them, he would be throwing them every month. So obviously he's spending too much. But it was control costs, and if we can control costs and we're not losing $30,000-$40,000 a show, then we can build something, right?
Absolutely.
And so I'm trying.
Martin's got a great mind. I mean, Martin built his business from the ground up with something that was not there, and now it is there. And so he knows a thing or two about doing that.
Yeah, 100%. So, and when I'm telling these guys, and I won't name names. Well, who knows? Maybe I'll throw names. See how pumped you get me. But I offered this one guy $3,500 for 3 matches. I'm sorry,
per match
per
or
match
total?
per match. So in total,
So that's $10,000, $11,000.
yeah, almost $11,000. And if you can maybe get a sponsor in there for a couple $100, maybe you get $11,000-$12,000 for 3 matches. And
plus you're covering the guy's travel. So 3
everything.
matches,
And
depending where he lives. There's another $6, $7, $8,000 in travel for those 3 events.
Yeah, and we're paying for everything. But I mean, the economics of Tommy. You were a world class wrestler. I understand. You ain't making much money as a world class wrestler. You're just not. I mean, I was getting a stipend of a couple $100 from USA Wrestling, a couple $100 from Sunkist Kids, making a few bucks coaching in Missouri and doing some camps. I mean, that was my living.
Right.
So you'd think $11,000, right? 11 for 3 matches. You got to show up and wrestle for a total of 3 matches for $11,000. And he said no. He said no, I'm not going to do it. I actually had 3 people. I had 4 guys. I said, there's these 4 guys. This is who I want to get. These are my main focus. And the only one out of those 4 that said that I got was Chris Perry. Chris Perry's like, yup, sign me up. I'll wrestle anyone, anytime. And then he freaking got hurt, so we were only able to get him 1 match, unfortunately, and then he tore his labrum. But yeah, that was the easiest one to deal with was Chris Perry. So
it would be interesting, and this is such a far-flung idea. I just thought of it in my mind, but if you did like a wrestler-owned pro league, and you got 7 or 8 of the best wrestlers in the country to own the league, and then they wrestle for free, but they own the league. So if it ever took off, they could get a dividend check for the rest of their lives. I mean, if the right group of guys could do that, probably.
And I actually tried selling Jordan Burroughs on that idea because, we don't need to make any bones about it, Tommy. Jordan Burroughs is the biggest star in America, and frankly, it's not close.
If he was the feature match in a pro event like we've been talking about, it would probably at least break even.
Well, I went to Ty. He wouldn't answer my phone calls, which I don't know. I don't really know what he's got against me. I'm not really sure. Jordan, if you listen to this, let me know what you got against me. I have no idea. But so I actually saw him in person at our first event, which was in Lehigh, Pennsylvania. And I said, Jordan, look, I want to get you involved. I know you're expensive. I get that. You're the biggest star in America. I said, I can't pay you a base rate, but if you think you're a star and I think you're a star, I said, maybe there's something we can work out where we can pay you for buys or pay you for sign-ups.
So a royalty against the amount of buys.
Well, so it would be you're proving your value, Well,
that's what those UFC guys get. That's the real payday for those 7 or 8 guys, right?
That's the real payday for the guys that get the pay-per-view. That's what everyone's striving for, because that's how you show what you're really worth. And so, Jordan was the one guy who I felt like could actually command that. But he never followed up with me. So I don't know, but he was the one guy who I thought, okay, I could tell this to, and hell, he might get 20,000 people to tune in or 30,000 people to tune in. He might prove he's worth it, but I wasn't able to get him to tune in, and obviously you can't give that deal to everybody. Only the biggest stars get that one.
Yeah, no, it's a tough nut to crack, this professionalization of the sport, but at the same time, with a platform like Flow Wrestling, which in my opinion has changed the sport and is the best thing to happen to wrestling in the past 10 or 12 years, just because of everything that people don't even know. They don't even really process how much it's connected the sport the way that it has. But with platforms like that, and with the internet and video media and things of that nature, and streaming events and stuff like that, I really believe it will happen, Ben. I don't know when, but it's not a matter of if for me. It's just when. And it could be 5 years from now. It could be 20 years from now. But I do think there'll be a profitable event promotion / league in our sport in probably in my lifetime, maybe in the next 20 years or so.
Yeah, and the other thing when you look about it is the most expensive things in the whole world, Tommy, right now, currently, are sports franchises and sports leagues. And the reason that is because everyone TiVos everything, right? So no one watches commercials anymore. Well, the one thing that no one TiVos is live sports.
Exactly right.
Nobody does it. So if you were to Google sports franchises, man, and you'd be shocked because a lot of them are soccer, but there are so many franchises in the world right now, and by franchise I mean National Football League, Major League Baseball, that are worth billions of dollars. I mean literally billions of dollars because the TV contracts they command, because everyone watches sports live. So I mean, wrestling, if they can build up any kind of reasonable demand for themselves, and to get a small time TV deal or be on Flow, because actually, I think, not to get into too much of my opinions on business future, but I think a lot of everything is going to the subscription type deal that Flow has in the future.
No doubt about it.
I mean, hell, I got a TV and I watch like 4 freaking channels and I pay for $120. Like, what the hell?
Yep. And I pay whatever I pay for my Flow Pro subscription or whatever you call it, just so that I can watch, the Isaiah Martinez documentary and this and that and this Duel on Live. I mean, it's just nice to have that access whenever you need it. So hey, there's a market for it, to the point we've been talking about it. So
yeah.
Speaking of these franchises, they command so much money because people watch live sports, which means they get advertising dollars. And I do want to say, not to make a shameless plug, Ben, but I know you mentioned in the very beginning of the podcast, but Defense Soap is our title sponsor for this podcast. Guy Seiko comes from wrestling, is an authentic, original wrestling fan. His son was an All-American, great man, and you got to defend what you have built. That's the tagline with Defense, and we really appreciate them getting behind this podcast. I do think that long-term, it's a great thing for them, but right now, just a leap of faith, thinking that we can have a podcast that people actually want to listen to. So we do appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. That's huge, and that's something we kind of talked about earlier, and that's one of the reasons some of these young bucks are making more money is there are a few more sponsors out than when you and I were coming out. You want to hear my funny story about ASICs, Tommy?
Let me know. Let me hear it.
Okay, so I get done with college, and I don't want to brag, but I went to Hodges. I got an afro. People like me.
You're marketable. Don't put the
marketable.
chin in China.
Exactly.
You want to put the chin in China, yeah.
I did not put the chin in China too well, but so anyway, I had negotiated this deal with ASICs. I'm sorry, I apologize, Adidas. And it was reasonable. It wasn't big money, but I got a solid amount of money. And so one day, I believe I was at Edinburgh. No, you know who? I was with Frank Papalizio up in New York. Albany runs a Journey Wrestling Club, doing a little camp. And I get a call from this guy, and, who is this? This is Bill Farrell is what I eventually got out of it, right?
Wow.
And I didn't, honestly, I didn't know who that was at that point. And he says, "Did you sign the contract?" I said, "Well, what do you mean? I'm sorry, I don't even know who you are." He said, "Oh, I run ASICs. Did you sign the contract?" I said, I haven't got a contract from ASICs.
Right.
And he said, "Well, yeah, we sent it. It's under TW Promotions." So TW Promotions was the parent company of ASICs Wrestling, and I had received it like four weeks earlier, but I didn't even know. I had no idea what TW Promotions was, so I thought it was just junk mail. I ripped it up and threw it away.
Right.
And man, this guy starts going off on me about how disrespectful that is and how I blah 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 blah. Tommy, you want to know how much that contract was for?
I don't. I mean, yeah. Tell me. I think I know the direction.
$1,000 a year.
Right.
$1,000 a year. That was what the biggest name in wrestling in 2007 coming out was getting.
So did you take it, or did you just rather?
No.
Yeah.
I got a better deal from. I was almost done with my Adidas deal by that point. I got a reasonably better deal, but at the same time, right? I'm living with Chase Kaufman, who was one of my roommates, who was first team All American football player, and he's freaking flying places and signing like 500 cards at $30 a pop and taking home $15,000 for the weekend.
Right.
And so I'm seeing that and saying like, freak, I'm getting $1,000 for the whole year to wear ASICs.
And that's where
it's just embarrassing.
And that's where we can poo-poo that our sport is not growing or monetizing, and we definitely aren't where we should be or need to be. But as a sport, these guys, David Taylor, Kyle Dake, Jordan Burroughs, Jordan Oliver, Logan Stieber, you name it, these guys are capitalizing on their value far more and better than similar names 10 years ago were capitalizing. So to the point you made, Ben, I understand, but I do think that our sport is, that these guys are having greater market value, and they have been for quite some time, and they're just getting paid more. There's, it's the demand is there. It's always been there, but now people are bargaining for them, and so the rates just keep going up, and it's not anything to write home about. I mean, these guys aren't stocking away tens of thousands of dollars every year.
I don't know what they're making.
Well, Burroughs is, but
Burroughs.
he deserves it.
He deserves
but
it.
he is, he's stocking some serious.
Yeah, and not to give your secrets away, but I think that's I think a lot of people realized in the last handful of years that ASICS and Adidas they weren't selling the product that they could sell if they used these wrestlers, and so obviously one of our friends, the good old MD, he started. He was the first one to really do it, but then since then there's been a whole bunch of companies who have came out and are actually marketing wrestling gear to wrestling people, right?
Yeah.
Your company being one of them, Rudis, which I actually have my Dave Schultz shirt on right now. Fantastic. It's freaking awesome.
I got my USA Rudis shirt on.
But 10 years ago, right? 10 years ago, man, I don't want to pick on Adidas again, because they were actually the one that was good to me, but they sent me a whole bunch of Adidas wrestling shirts, and with my contract, I was supposed to wear them to any wrestling engagement. But Tommy, these shirts were so bad, I was embarrassed to wear them. Right. I was embarrassed to wear them, and that's where wrestling companies were failing to market to wrestlers. So now, this is where you got a Flips and you got Rudis, and you got Cradle Gear and Compound and all these new, people who are now marketing cool wrestling gear. And so I see, my kids walking around, not even when they're wrestling practice, but my AWA wrestlers, and they're wearing wrestling shirts because they have cool wrestling shirts to wear. So I think that's the first sign of the market growing a little bit, is there's wrestling people marketing wrestling stuff to wrestlers, which wasn't happening 10 years ago. It just wasn't.
No, and I think you're right. Mike DeSabato was one of the first, if not the first, guys to just put up and say, hey, these guys, I'm going to make a bet on the athletes, and they're going to return value to the company over and above what I'm paying them, because that's why I'm in business, and tried to make it work, and is still trying to make it work. And I think that as a result, as part of that, there's a lot of people out there that are paying attention, trying to build businesses around branded wrestling, apparel, goods, what have you, myself included, to your point, Ben, and custom team apparel and what have you. And I think that that's
cool that people want to wear.
Right, it's cool.
I don't want to give you guys too much props, but man, you guys got some cool stuff. My wife, I ordered something for my mom, and I forgot to get something for my wife. And she thought it was so cool. She just took it. So I got to go ahead and get my mom something else for Christmas. But yeah, thanks, it's some cool stuff. And
it's easy. It's easy when you are the community that you're trying to facilitate and sell to. And so, the partners at Rudis, myself, Jesse Lang, Jeff Jordan, and Nancy Schultz, we are part of the community that we're trying to cater to. So it feels hand in glove to do what we think is best for them and what speaks to them and what goods they would like to have. And to that point, I think when our business gets large enough and it's growing, we're going to invest in athletes in ways that are commendable and really pay these guys what they deserve. But we're in business too, and we've got to turn a profit. And to the point, that's where the rubber meets the road, and you've got to build your business in a way that allows you to leverage these athletes and these guys in a way that allows your business to grow. And sometimes that comes down to timing and a lot of other things. So we will be in that space, and partnering with the right people and making the right decisions is very important. And that's why I love business so much. It reminds me of a wrestling match, because you got to make the right choices. If you make the bad choice, you've got to make it 2 or 3 really good choices in a row to win the match or to get yourself ahead. So
yeah, that reminds me of a good saying that a coach used to say. He used to say, "Well, if you're not going to be smart in matches, then you got to be really freaking tough. But if you want to be a little smarter, you don't have to be quite as tough."
Right.
I mean, if you're going to make some stupid decisions, you got to work your butt off to make it back up.
Or you can be like Jordan Burroughs and be smart and tough and talented.
And everything.
He's
got it all. He's got the whole package.
He sure does, man. So,
hey, are you voting for Donald Trump?
Am I voting for Donald Trump?
Not to give your vote away or anything.
I'm
undecided still. So.
I don't think I'll be voting for Donald Trump. I just, I don't view him as a guy that can handle our international affairs.
He'll just go whoop him up and be done with it.
I mean, do you really want to talk?
And then he'll say, in Middle East, you can thank me for buying your oil too.
Yep. Even though I'm fairly conservative guy, not to give it away, but and I don't even know what you're.
I'm fairly conservative. I wouldn't say I'm all the way to the one extreme, but I'm fairly conservative, and I don't know who I'm voting for, but at least I appreciate Trump forcing these lifetime politicians to answer the questions they don't want to answer.
That's exactly what I was getting to.
It's freaking glorious.
I won't vote for him, but man, I think he's great for the race. I think he's great for the political landscape. He imposes his will, on the opponents in ways that make them. They can't run and hide. They can't politicize their comments. They have to speak the truth. And because of that, he's been great for what's going on in this race. I can't believe we're talking about politics right now.
Sorry, I just saw something about Trump. Well, we should probably almost be done. Hey, you want to hear one really funny thing about Trump?
Yeah.
One clip I love. You might have to YouTube this. I already gave you guys the hot crazy matrix today, which is fantastic. But he called Rosie O'Donnell a pig, and then that lady Meredith, she said, "Donald."
From the View.
Did you call Rosie O'Donnell a fat pig? And no, I called her a pig. And he goes, Meredith, is Rosie O'Donnell fat? And she tried to change the subject. And he goes, Meredith, is Rosie O'Donnell fat? And Meredith, is Rosie O'Donnell fat? And she wouldn't answer the question. And I thought it was so funny because it's obvious to everyone that she's fat. Duh. I mean, it's not, why can't we just say that? Like, that's just what it is. Like, I'm white. I have curly hair. It's just what you are, right? And,
right.
But this lady was just like, she was so scared to say it. She could not say, yeah, she is. She couldn't say like there's something politically incorrect about saying.
So in a nutshell, that's why he's been good for all this.
Yeah, because just puts it out there.
Right. That's right,
man. All right. So we kind of, I don't know if we wrapped everything up, but hell, we got, like I said, I texted you earlier, we could be on this for the next 30 years, so I'm sure people are going to get our viewpoint at some point sooner or later. Yeah, we gotta sell. Wrestling's gotta sell. Sell, promote. Get butts in the seat, grow our sport, and that's what we gotta do.
That's right, brother. I think we covered a lot. I hope that everyone liked the first show. But next week we'll have Tom Ryan on here. We'll probably have some other things to talk about, some current events, maybe some other topics.
What's going on next weekend? Let me think. We got.
I'm not even sure what's on the
anything.
calendar. We'll be ready to roll, though. We'll have plenty to talk about. We'll dive deep with Tom Ryan. We'll get real deep with him.
Okay,
I know how to press his buttons, Ben.
Good. I know you know him really well. I don't know that I've ever. I maybe have one conversation with Tom ever, but I heard he's got a good story, so I do want to.
He does.
I want to get and you gave me a few tidbits, but I want to get a little more of his story going way back. So hopefully we'll get to talk to him about all kinds of stuff. Maybe how he's promoting this Ohio State program, because people seem to love him. Every kid at my club I ask, I said, where do you want to wrestle? Every Ohio State seems to be on every single kid's list.
Oh, the Buckeyes! It's a place to be, man. I mean, once you visit the campus, it's you're hooked for life. We should have got you on campus. That's on me. I was the recruiter, I think. When did you graduate high school?
I'm 02, dude. I'm not that young. I'm 02.
Okay. All
so
right.
yeah, you would have been in college still. Russ Hellickson was the guy. Whereas Russ Hellickson actually is from Wisconsin. He's a Stoughton Viking. So
Stoughton, baby. I've been there.
Russ Hellickson is he's intro to our program. So
awesome.
It all ties together, I guess. All right. You good, Tommy?
I'm good, man. Let's I guess we can sign off here, and Ben, you can go ahead and take it from there. But thanks everybody, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you everybody. We'll see you next week when we got Tom Ryan on the show.